You know what the real reason you're not peaceful is? It's not because life is bad. It's because you're constantly trying to control the uncontrollable. You're trying to hold time. You're trying to hold people. You're trying to hold the past. You're trying to hold certainty in a world that was never designed to be certain. And this one habit is silently destroying your mind every day. It makes you anxious. It makes you impatient. It makes you emotionally weak. It makes you feel like you're always behind. But Buddhism teaches that the moment you stop trying to control everything, life starts flowing again. Your heart becomes lighter. Your mind becomes quieter. And you finally feel free. So if you're ready to stop trying so hard and stop living like your mind is in a war, then keep watching. 1. The more you grip life, the more it slips away. One of the biggest illusions the mind creates is the belief that tight control equals safety. The mind whispers, "If I hold on to everything tightly, nothing will go wrong. If I control people, timing, outcomes, and emotions, I will finally feel calm." But Buddhism teaches the opposite truth. The harder you grip life, the more life slips away. It is like holding sand in your hands. If you hold it gently, it stays. But the moment you squeeze it, it escapes through your fingers. And this is exactly how our happiness works. The more you force life to go your way, the more stressful life becomes. The more you demand certainty, the more anxiety grows. The more you try to control every detail, the more you feel like you're losing control inside. Look at how this shows up in real life. When you try to force people to stay close, they start feeling suffocated, and slowly they pull away. When you try to rush success, you become impatient, frustrated, and mentally exhausted. When you try to control your emotions by suppressing sadness, fear, or anger, they don't disappear. They actually become heavier, because what you resist will always persist. The mind keeps doing this because it is addicted to certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants a promise that nothing will change and nothing will hurt. But life was never designed to be predictable like a machine. Life is not fixed. Life is moving, changing, and unfolding every day. Seasons change, people change, plans change, and even your own thoughts change. So when you demand that life should stay stable forever, you create suffering for yourself, because you're fighting something that cannot be stopped. Buddhism teaches that everything is temporary, and this is not a negative idea. It is actually a peaceful one, because when you accept that change is natural, you stop panicking every time something shifts. You stop treating every delay like a disaster. You stop acting like one mistake means your whole life is ruined. You become calmer, wiser, and lighter. And slowly, you start living with a new understanding. Peace is not something you achieve by controlling everything. Peace is something you discover when you stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. 2. Control is often just fear wearing a mask. Most people think control is a sign of strength. They think the person who plans everything, manages everything, watches everything, and keeps everything under their command is the most powerful person in the room. But Buddhism teaches a deeper truth. Control is often not strength at all. Control is fear wearing a mask. It is fear pretending to be intelligence, fear pretending to be preparation, fear pretending to be being responsible. And once you understand this, you will finally see why you feel so tired inside, even when nothing big is happening. Because the truth is, the mind does not control things when it feels safe. The mind controls things when it feels threatened. When you are relaxed, you don't overthink every word people say. You don't check your phone again and again. You don't try to force a person to respond. You don't try to predict the future. You just live. But when fear enters your heart, control becomes your escape. You start controlling because you're scared of losing something. You're scared of being left behind. You're scared of failing. You're scared of being embarrassed. You're scared that if things don't go your way, your heart won't be able to handle it. So your mind becomes like a guard standing at the door of your life, trying to stop pain before it even comes. This is why you may notice something about yourself. When things are uncertain, you become more controlling. When you don't know what someone thinks about you, your mind starts creating 100 theories. When you don't know what will happen tomorrow, your brain starts imagining worst-case scenarios. When you feel emotionally unsafe, you start trying to fix everything immediately. You start wanting quick answers, quick decisions, quick proof, quick results. Not because you truly need them, but because your mind believes that uncertainty is dangerous. And because your mind hates uncertainty, it starts doing what it does best: overthinking, planning, controlling, worrying, and replaying everything again and again. But Buddhism teaches something very powerful. The more you try to control life to avoid pain, the more pain you create inside your mind. Because control never brings real peace. It only brings temporary comfort. It is like holding a glass too tightly because you are afraid it might fall. But the tighter you squeeze, the more your hand starts hurting. And eventually you become exhausted, not because life is too hard, but because you are trying to carry life in a way it was never meant to be carried. Real peace does not come from controlling everything. Real peace comes from becoming strong enough inside to face life as it is. It comes from trusting yourself. Trusting that even if things don't go your way, you will still survive. Even if someone leaves, you will still heal. Even if a plan fails, you will still rebuild. That is why Buddhists focus on awareness, not obsession. They focus on inner stability, not outer control. Because once your mind becomes stable, you don't need to control the world to feel okay. You become calm in uncertainty. You become peaceful even without guarantees. You stop reacting like every change is a threat. So whenever you feel the urge to control everything, pause and ask yourself honestly, am I controlling because I'm wise or because I'm scared? That question alone can wake you up. Because the moment you recognize your fear, you stop being its slave. And slowly, you learn the most powerful freedom of all, letting life happen without losing yourself. 3. Your need to control is creating your anxiety. If you want the real truth, anxiety is not only something that happens to you because life is difficult. Anxiety is often something you create inside yourself because you are trying to control life too much. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when the mind refuses to accept reality. And one of the biggest reasons people feel anxious all the time is because deep inside, they are fighting what they cannot control. They want life to be certain. They want people to behave a certain way. They want the future to follow their plan. They want their efforts to give instant results. They want nothing unexpected to happen. But life doesn't work like that. Life is unpredictable by nature. And when your mind demands certainty in an uncertain world, anxiety is the result. Think about how anxiety feels. It feels like your chest is tight, like your mind is racing, like you can't relax even when nothing is happening, like you're always waiting for something to go wrong. But what is anxiety really? It is your mind trying to prepare for every possible outcome, because it believes that if it does not control the future, you will not be safe. So the mind starts overthinking. It starts replaying old situations. It starts imagining worst-case scenarios. It starts planning 10 steps ahead. It starts analyzing every small detail, every message, every delay, every reaction, every silence. And the more your mind does this, the more you feel trapped inside your own head. This is why people say, "I'm tired," even when they haven't done anything physically. Because controlling the future mentally is exhausting. Buddhism explains this in a very simple way. The mind creates anxiety when it becomes attached to outcomes. Attachment means you are not just hoping for something, you are emotionally depending on it. You are saying, if this goes my way, I will be happy. If it doesn't, I will fall apart. And that dependency creates pressure. You start carrying life like a burden. You start treating every uncertainty like a threat. Even small things begin to feel heavy. A person replies late, and your mind starts shaking. A plan changes, and you start panicking. A problem appears, and you immediately assume your life is about to collapse. Not because the situation is truly that dangerous, but because your mind has trained itself to believe that peace only exists when everything is under control. But here is the powerful Buddhist truth. Peace does not come from controlling the outcome. Peace comes from accepting the process. A calm mind is not a mind that knows everything. A calm mind is a mind that trusts itself to handle anything. When you stop trying to control everything, you stop feeding the fire of anxiety. You stop adding mental pressure to your heart. You stop living in imaginary disasters that haven't even happened. You return to the present moment. You breathe. You realize you are here. You are alive. You are safe in this moment. And you understand something deeply liberating. Most of your anxiety was not coming from reality. It was coming from resistance. This is why Buddhism teaches mindfulness. Because mindfulness pulls you out of the future and brings you back into now. Anxiety lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. But peace lives only in the present. And when you become present, you stop wasting your energy trying to control everything that might happen. You start focusing only on what you can actually do right now. And that shift changes everything. Because once you accept that you cannot control life completely, you finally stop fighting life. And the moment you stop fighting, your anxiety starts to fall away naturally. 4. Letting go is not giving up. It is trusting the flow. One of the biggest misunderstandings people have about letting go is that they think it means weakness. They think it means you stopped caring. They think it means you accepted defeat. They think it means you are lazy, you have no ambition, and you don't want to improve your life anymore. But Buddhism teaches something completely different. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is wisdom. It is not the act of quitting life. It is the act of stopping the suffering that comes from forcing life. Because there is a huge difference between working hard and controlling everything. There is a huge difference between effort and obsession. There is a huge difference between trying your best and destroying your peace. In Buddhism, letting go means you stop clinging. You stop holding on to outcomes like your life depends on them. You stop attaching your happiness to something that is not guaranteed. You stop acting like you must have a certain person, a certain result, or a certain perfect moment to finally feel okay. Because the truth is, if your peace depends on how life behaves, you will never have peace. Life is unpredictable. People change, situations change, plans break, timing shifts. And if your mind is always holding tight, waiting for everything to go your way, you will always feel tension inside. But when you let go, you breathe again. You release the pressure. You stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You stop trying to control what is not meant to be controlled. Think about it like this. Imagine you are swimming in the ocean and big waves start coming. One person panics and starts fighting the water, trying to push the wave back, trying to stay in complete control. What happens? They get tired quickly and they start sinking. But another person understands the ocean. They float, they move with the wave. They relax their body and allow the water to carry them. That person survives, not because the wave was small, but because they stopped fighting. This is the same with life. When you fight reality, you drown in stress. When you accept reality, you float through it with wisdom. Letting go also means you understand something very deep. You can do everything right and still not get the outcome you want. You can be kind and still get misunderstood. You can love someone deeply and still lose them. You can work hard and still face delays. You can plan perfectly and still meet unexpected problems. And when that happens, a controlling mind breaks down. It collapses. It says, "But I did everything. Why didn't it work?" And this is where suffering becomes heavy, because you begin to feel cheated by life. You begin to feel like nothing is under your control. But Buddhism teaches you to shift your understanding. Your job is not to control results. Your job is to control your intention, your effort, your discipline, and your heart. The results are not fully yours. The results belong to life. And once you accept that, you stop being mentally crushed by things you cannot change. That is why letting go does not mean you stop trying. It means you stop forcing. It means you stop demanding life to obey your timeline, because life has its own timing. And many times, life is preparing you in ways you cannot see. Sometimes delays are protection. Sometimes rejection is redirection. Sometimes you don't get what you want because you are meant to grow into something better. But you will never see this when you are impatient and desperate. Desperation makes you blind. Desperation makes you act from fear. Desperation makes you chase things that are not meant for you. But when you let go, you become calm. And when you become calm, you finally start seeing clearly. Buddhism often teaches through simple examples. You can plant a seed in the soil, you can water it every day, you can protect it from harm, but can you force it to grow in one night? No. The seed needs time. It needs the right season. It needs the right sunlight. It needs patience. And that is how your life works too. You can show up, you can work, you can improve. You can stay consistent, but you cannot force life to give you results faster just because you are tired of waiting. When you try to force it, you only create frustration, anger, and disappointment. But when you trust the flow, you keep moving with peace. You keep doing what you can without destroying yourself inside. And here is the most powerful part. Letting go creates space. Space in your mind, space in your heart, space in your energy. When you are always holding on, there is no space for anything new. Your hands are full. Your mind is full. Your heart is full of fear, worry, and pressure. But when you let go, you create room. Room for peace, room for clarity, room for new opportunities, room for better people, room for better paths, room for life to surprise you in a beautiful way. Many people miss their blessings because their mind is too busy controlling the old story. They are holding on so tightly to what they thought should happen that they cannot see what is actually happening. Letting go also teaches you the ultimate freedom. You stop depending on the outside world to feel okay inside. Because now you realize, I can lose things and still be okay. I can be rejected and still be okay. I can fail and still be okay. I can start again and still be okay. That is real power. That is inner stability. That is peace. And this is exactly what Buddhism means when it teaches non-attachment. It doesn't mean you don't love. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you stop turning love into dependency. You stop turning goals into obsession. You stop turning life into a fight. So when you let go, you're not giving up. You're not becoming weak. You're becoming wise. You're choosing peace over pressure. You're choosing trust over fear. You're choosing flow over force. And when you finally learn this, you will realize something life-changing. Some things don't come when you chase them. They come when you become calm enough to receive them. 5. When you stop forcing, you start living. Most people don't realize this. But there is a silent difference between living and simply surviving. On the outside, both people may look the same. They wake up, they work, they eat, they talk, they scroll, they sleep. But inside, one person is alive, and the other person is mentally suffocating. One person feels peace, even when life is not perfect. The other person feels pressure, even when life is not falling apart. And the reason is simple. The second person is forcing everything. Forcing happiness, forcing progress, forcing relationships, forcing validation, forcing outcomes, forcing control. And when you live your life in force, life becomes heavy. Your mind becomes loud, your heart becomes tired. Even rest does not feel like rest anymore. Buddhism teaches that the reason you feel exhausted is not always because life is hard. Many times, it is because your mind is hard on life. Your mind is constantly pushing against reality. It is constantly trying to shape life into a perfect picture. It is constantly saying, "This should be different." It is constantly arguing with what is happening. And that constant inner fight becomes your prison. You may be sitting in your room doing nothing, but your mind is running like it is in a battlefield. You may be eating food, but you can't even taste it because your thoughts are somewhere else. You may be with people, but you don't feel present because your mind is stuck in overthinking, imagining, worrying, and controlling. This is why forcing is so dangerous, because forcing makes you miss your own life. You become physically present, but mentally absent. You keep saying, "When I achieve this, then I will be happy. When I fix myself, then I will feel peace. When they return, then I will relax. When everything becomes perfect, then I will finally breathe." But that day never comes, because life does not become perfect, and the mind will always find something else to worry about. So you end up living your entire life in later happiness, later peace, later calm, later freedom. And that is not living. That is postponing life. Buddhism teaches mindfulness for a reason, because mindfulness brings you back to the only place where life actually exists, the present moment. Not the future your mind is scared of. Not the past your mind regrets. The present, right now, this breath, this moment, this life. But when you are forcing, your mind is never here. It is always chasing, running, searching, needing, wanting, and it becomes addicted to that chase. Even when you get what you wanted, the mind immediately looks for the next thing. This is why people who achieve goals still feel empty, because the mind was never trained to feel satisfied. It was trained to feel hungry. When you stop forcing, something beautiful begins to happen. You start noticing life again. You start seeing colors again. You start hearing silence again. You start feeling your body again. You start appreciating small moments again. A quiet morning feels like a blessing. A normal day feels peaceful. A simple meal feels enough. The sky looks more beautiful. The air feels lighter. And you don't realize how powerful that is until you have lived years in mental pressure. Because a mind that is always forcing cannot enjoy anything. Even good moments feel incomplete. Even laughter feels temporary. Even success feels stressful, because behind everything, the mind is still chasing control. Let's make this simple. When you force people to love you, you lose your dignity. You become desperate, you become needy, and you start shrinking yourself just to keep someone close. But when you stop forcing, you stand in your self-respect. You let people choose you freely. You let them stay by their own heart, not because you begged them. And that is when real love becomes possible, because real love cannot exist where there is pressure. Real love needs freedom. It needs space. It needs natural connection. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering, and forcing is a form of attachment. It is emotional grabbing. It is the mind saying, "I need this, or I will not be okay. But the moment you stop forcing, your soul stops begging, your energy becomes calm, your presence becomes strong. And people can feel that. Life can feel that. When you stop forcing success, you also start working better, because you stop working from panic, you stop working from fear, you stop comparing yourself to everyone else, you stop rushing the process. You start focusing on your own journey. You become consistent, not desperate. You become disciplined, not impatient. You begin to enjoy progress instead of only chasing results. And this is where the magic happens, because the fastest growth happens when your mind is steady, not when it is frantic. A calm mind learns better. A calm mind creates better. A calm mind survives challenges with strength. But a forcing mind collapses quickly. It burns out. It loses motivation. It loses peace. And eventually, it loses itself. Buddhism teaches the concept of right effort. Right effort is not forcing. Right effort is balanced. It means you take action without becoming obsessed. You do your part without trying to control the universe. You move forward, but you don't destroy your inner peace while doing it. You become like water. Water moves strongly, but it does not panic. Water flows around obstacles. Water does not scream at the rock. It does not break down when blocked. It simply finds another way. That is the mindset of someone who is truly living. They don't fight reality. They don't fight change. They don't fight uncertainty. They move with it. And here is the part that will wake you up. Many people are not tired because they are doing too much. They are tired because they are thinking too much. They are carrying too much mentally. They are forcing answers they are not meant to have yet. They are forcing closure when life is still teaching them. They are forcing certainty in a world that will never guarantee anything. They are forcing the future to arrive early. They are forcing people to become who they are not. And all of that forcing creates tension because the mind is trying to control something bigger than itself. But when you finally stop forcing, you return to a natural state. You start trusting life. You start trusting timing. You start trusting your own ability to handle whatever happens. And this trust heals you in a way you cannot explain. Because now, even when life is uncertain, you are not shaking inside. Even when you don't have answers, you are not drowning in fear. Even when things are not perfect, you are still peaceful. That is living. That is freedom. That is a calm mind. So remember this lesson deeply. When you stop forcing, you stop suffering. When you stop forcing, you stop fighting your own life. When you stop forcing, you finally breathe again. And when you finally breathe again, you realize something powerful. You were never meant to control life like a machine. You were meant to experience life like a flowing river, moment by moment, step by step, with peace in your heart, even when the path is not clear. 6. Life is not against you. It is training you. One of the biggest reasons people suffer so deeply is not because life is always cruel, but because they interpret every hardship as a personal attack. The moment something goes wrong, the mind immediately says, "Why me?" It says, "Why is life doing this to me?" It says, "Why does nothing ever work out for me?" And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to see life like an enemy, like life is here to break you, embarrass you, or punish you. But Buddhism teaches a completely different truth, and if you understand it deeply, it can change your entire mindset. Buddhism teaches that life is not against you. Life is training you. Life is shaping you the same way fire shapes gold. The gold does not become pure by comfort. It becomes pure by heat. It becomes strong by pressure. And in the same way, your mind becomes wise, not through ease, but through experience. Your heart becomes strong not through perfect days, but through difficult ones. Your character becomes powerful not when everything goes your way, but when things don't go your way and you still remain calm. So, every hardship is not a punishment, it is a lesson. Every delay is not a denial, it is preparation. Every struggle is not a sign that you are failing, it is proof that you are growing. But the mind doesn't like this idea, because the mind wants comfort. The mind wants everything to be smooth. The mind wants to win without effort. It wants success without patience. It wants love without risk. It wants peace without facing itself. But Buddhism teaches that life does not work that way. Life is a teacher, and sometimes the teacher is strict. Not because it hates you, but because it knows your potential. It knows what you can become. And if life gave you everything easily, your soul would never evolve. Your mind would stay weak. Your heart would stay childish. Your ego would stay in control. So life brings challenges not to destroy you, but to wake you up. Think about it carefully. If you never faced rejection, you would never learn self-respect. If you never experienced loss, you would never learn detachment. If you never struggled, you would never build discipline. If you never felt pain, you would never understand healing. If you never went through loneliness, you would never discover your own strength. That is why Buddhism says pain is part of life, but suffering is optional. Pain is the experience. Suffering is the mental reaction. Pain is what happens. Suffering is the story your mind creates about what happens. For example, two people can go through the same problem. One person becomes bitter, angry, and hopeless. They complain, they blame, they overthink, and they collapse inside. The other person becomes calm, patient, and stronger. They learn, they adapt, they accept, and they move forward. Same problem, different mind, different result. So the difference is not life. The difference is how you relate to life. Buddhism teaches that you don't need life to change for you to be peaceful. You need your mind to change. Many people suffer because they keep fighting reality. They keep saying, "This shouldn't be happening. This is not fair. This is not what I wanted. I can't accept this." And because they cannot accept it, they replay it again and again in their mind. They keep reopening the wound. They keep reliving the pain. They keep carrying the past like a punishment. But Buddhism teaches acceptance, because acceptance is not surrendering to weakness. Acceptance is surrendering to truth. It is saying, "This is what is happening right now, and I will respond with wisdom." When you accept, you stop wasting energy fighting what already happened. You stop drowning in why, and you start focusing on what now. That is where your power returns. Life trains you through many forms. Sometimes it trains you through disappointment. You planned something, you worked hard, you had expectations, and it didn't happen, and you feel broken. But what is the lesson? The lesson is that attachment creates suffering. The lesson is that expectations create pain. The lesson is that you must learn to remain stable even when life changes. Sometimes life trains you through people. Someone betrays you, lies to you, or leaves you, and it hurts. But what is the lesson? The lesson is that you cannot control hearts. The lesson is that you must love without losing yourself. The lesson is that you must protect your peace. Sometimes life trains you through failure. You try something and you fall. But what is the lesson? The lesson is humility. The lesson is patience. The lesson is discipline. The lesson is starting again without ego. This is why Buddhism teaches that your greatest enemy is not the world. It is the mind that resists the world. Because when you resist, you suffer twice. First, you experience the hardship. Second, you add mental suffering on top of it by complaining, fearing, panicking, and overthinking. But when you accept, you suffer only once. You feel the pain, you learn from it, and you move forward. You don't become stuck. You don't become trapped. You don't become a prisoner of your emotions. And here is the most powerful thing. Some situations in your life were never meant to be comfortable. They were meant to transform you. The pain that changed you was not your enemy. It was your turning point. The heartbreak that shattered you was not the end. It was the beginning of your awakening. The struggle that exhausted you was not a sign of failure. It was the process of becoming stronger than your old self. Buddhism teaches that suffering can be a doorway to enlightenment, because when you suffer, you finally start questioning. You finally start waking up. You finally start seeing what matters and what doesn't. You finally stop chasing things that were never fulfilling you. So, when life hits you again, don't ask, "Why is life against me?" Ask, "What is life trying to teach me?" Ask, "What part of me needs to grow?" Ask, "What attachment is being exposed?" Ask, "What illusion is being broken?" Because life is always training you, not to punish you, but to prepare you, not to destroy you, but to develop you, not to make you hopeless, but to make you wise. And when you finally understand this, you stop seeing problems as disasters. You start seeing them as lessons. You stop seeing pain as the end. You start seeing pain as growth. You stop seeing struggle as weakness. You start seeing struggle as strength building. And once you see life this way, you become unstoppable, because now nothing can break you completely. Even when you fall, you rise with more wisdom. Even when you lose, you learn. Even when life changes, you adapt. And that is the real purpose of life in Buddhism, not to always make you happy, but to make you free. 7. Peace comes when you finally stop fighting reality. If you want to understand why you feel tired inside, why your heart feels heavy, why your mind never truly rests even when you are doing nothing, then you need to understand this one truth. You are not exhausted because life is too hard. You are exhausted because you are fighting life. You are fighting reality. You are fighting the present moment. You are fighting what is. And the moment you stop fighting reality, a peace enters your life that you have never experienced before. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you stop demanding that it must be perfect for you to be okay. Buddhism teaches that suffering does not come only from pain. Suffering comes from resistance. It comes from the mind saying, "This shouldn't be happening." It comes from the mind saying, "I don't accept this." It comes from the mind trying to rewrite the past, control the future, and force the present to look different. And that is where most people lose their peace. They are not living life as it is. They are living life as they wish it should be. They are not seeing reality. They are seeing their expectations. And when reality doesn't match those expectations, they suffer. This is why many people feel anxious even when their life is not falling apart, because their mind is always tense. It is always trying to arrange everything. It is always trying to protect itself from discomfort. It is always trying to avoid uncertainty. It is always creating a plan for every possible disaster. It is always replaying old mistakes. It is always imagining future humiliation. It is always chasing control because it believes control equals safety. But Buddhism teaches that true safety comes from inner acceptance, not external control. When your mind becomes accepting, life can change 100 times and your heart still remains steady. But when your mind becomes resisting, even one small change can destroy your peace. To stop fighting reality does not mean you love everything that happens. It does not mean you become careless. It does not mean you stop improving yourself. It simply means you stop wasting your energy arguing with what already is, because the moment has already arrived. The situation has already happened. The person has already changed. The plan has already failed. The mistake has already been made. The loss has already occurred. And what most people do is they add suffering on top of it by constantly complaining inside, replaying it again and again, and acting like their mind can undo it. But the mind cannot undo it. All it can do is poison the present moment with regret, bitterness, and panic. This is why Buddhism says that pain is natural, but suffering is optional. Pain is the event, suffering is the story. Pain is what happens. Suffering is what you keep repeating in your mind. Pain comes like a wave. It rises, it hits, and eventually it leaves. But suffering is when you grab that wave and keep it in your chest. You hold it, you replay it, you carry it. You make it your identity, you make it your future, and then you wonder why you cannot breathe. The truth is, reality will always be stronger than your mind. Reality does not care about your expectations. Reality does not follow your script. Reality does not pause because you are not ready. Life moves forward, days pass, people change, seasons change, your body changes, your relationships change, your goals change, even your own thoughts change. Everything in existence is moving. And when you finally accept this movement, you stop feeling shocked by life. You stop acting like change is a disaster. You stop panicking every time something shifts. You stop needing everything to stay the same. And that is when peace becomes possible. Let's make this simple. Imagine you are holding a rope, and the rope is tied to something that is moving away. The more you pull, the more your hands burn. The more you resist, the more pain you create. But if you let go, there is no burning. The movement continues, but you are no longer suffering. This is what attachment is. Attachment is not love. Attachment is not care. Attachment is resistance. Attachment is clinging to something that is already changing. Attachment is refusing to accept that life flows, and when you cling, you suffer. But when you let go, you heal. Many people think peace will come when everything is solved. When they have money, when they have love, when they have success, when they have perfect health, when people stop disappointing them, when life becomes stable. But Buddhism teaches that if your peace depends on life becoming stable, then you will never have peace, because life is unstable by nature. Peace does not come from life becoming calm. Peace comes from you becoming calm in life. That is the real spiritual power. Not controlling storms, but becoming steady inside storms. When you fight reality, you create a life of constant frustration. You want people to behave the way you want, but people are not yours to control. You want time to move slower when you are happy. But time will not listen. You want the past to be erased, but it cannot be erased. You want a person to return, but their heart is not in your hands. You want your mistakes to disappear. But they are already part of your story. You want the future to be guaranteed, but the future is not a contract. And because you want these impossible things, you suffer, because you are demanding the universe to obey your mind. And the universe will never do that. Buddhism teaches that the mind is the root of suffering, not because the mind is evil, but because the mind is addicted to control. It wants to hold on to everything. It wants to label everything. It wants to judge everything. It wants to predict everything. It wants to know, what does this mean? What will happen next? Will this destroy me? Will I fail? Will I be rejected? Will I be alone? Will I lose everything? And these questions keep running in your head like a non-stop machine. But peace begins when you step out of that machine. Peace begins when you observe your thoughts instead of becoming them. This is why Buddhist practice is not just philosophy, it is training, it is inner discipline. It is learning how to sit with your mind without becoming controlled by it. It is learning how to be present even when your mind wants to escape. It is learning how to accept discomfort without panic. It is learning how to face uncertainty without collapsing. And once you develop this, you become free, because now life can move in any direction and your heart will not break the same way it used to. You will still feel pain sometimes, but you will not suffer endlessly. You will still feel emotions, but you will not drown in them. You will still face problems, but you will not lose yourself inside them. Stopping the fight with reality also means you stop fighting yourself. Many people are angry at life, but deep inside they are angry at themselves. They regret their past. They hate their mistakes. They feel ashamed of their weakness. They punish themselves mentally every day. They wake up and carry guilt, carry pressure, carry self-hate. They look in the mirror and feel disappointment. They compare themselves to others and feel small. They replay their failures and feel broken. They judge themselves for not being perfect. But Buddhism teaches compassion, not fake kindness, real compassion. The kind of compassion that says, I am human, I have suffered, I have made mistakes, I have been lost, but I can begin again. And the moment you stop fighting yourself, you start healing. Because your inner war ends. Reality is not only what happens outside you, reality is also what happens inside you. Your emotions, your thoughts, your fears, your sadness, your loneliness, your anger. When these emotions arise, many people immediately fight them. They say, I shouldn't feel like this. They try to distract themselves. They try to suppress it. They try to run from it. They try to be strong by pretending they are not hurting. But Buddhism teaches that real strength is not avoidance. Real strength is presence. When sadness comes, you sit with it. When fear comes, you breathe with it. When anger comes, you observe it. You don't become the emotion, but you also don't reject it. You let it pass through you, like a cloud passing through the sky. Because emotions are temporary when you stop feeding them resistance, but emotions become monsters when you fight them. So many people keep fighting reality in relationships. They hold on to someone who is no longer giving them peace. They keep chasing attention from someone who keeps ignoring them. They keep begging for love from someone who cannot love them properly. And deep inside they know the truth, but they don't accept it. They keep fighting the reality that this person is not meant to stay, and that is why they suffer. Buddhism teaches non-attachment, not because it wants you to be cold, but because it wants you to be free. Because attachment turns love into chains. Attachment turns people into prisons. Attachment turns emotions into slavery. And freedom begins when you love without holding, when you care without clinging, when you give without begging, when you accept without losing your dignity. Stopping the fight with reality also means you stop fighting time. Many people suffer because they want life to move faster. They want success now. They want healing now. They want answers now. They want their dreams now. But life does not obey your impatience. Life has its own timing. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Wisdom takes time. Becoming strong takes time. And the mind suffers because it cannot wait. It wants everything immediately. It wants the reward without the process. But Buddhism teaches patience as a form of enlightenment. Because patience is not just waiting, patience is trusting. Patience is staying calm while the seed is growing underground. Patience is believing in progress even when you cannot see results yet. And when you stop fighting time, you start enjoying the journey. You stop treating life like a race. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. You relax. You breathe. You move steadily. And that is when you actually go further. This lesson is deep. The more you accept reality, the more life opens up to you. Because reality is not your enemy. Reality is your teacher. Reality is your guide. Reality is the doorway to freedom, but you cannot enter that doorway if you keep resisting it. If you keep saying no, if you keep saying, This shouldn't be. If you keep living in denial, denial does not protect you. Denial only delays your healing. Acceptance is what heals you. Not because acceptance makes pain disappear, but because acceptance makes pain lighter. It stops you from carrying pain longer than necessary. Many people think acceptance means you approve of what happened. No. Acceptance means you stop arguing with what happened. It means you stop living in mental war. It means you stop trying to rewrite life in your head. It means you stop begging for a different reality. You say, okay, this happened. Now what? That is acceptance. That is maturity. That is strength. Because once you accept reality, you regain your power. Your power returns to you. Your mind becomes clear. Your heart becomes calm. Your energy becomes stable. Now you can respond wisely. When you fight reality, you react emotionally. You explode. You panic. You overthink. You chase. You beg. You collapse. But when you accept reality, you respond with wisdom. You pause. You breathe. You think. You choose. You move. You let go. You stay calm. And that is a completely different life. A person who reacts is controlled by life. A person who responds is free inside life. Buddhism often describes life as a river. If you fight the river, you will drown. If you flow with the river, you will reach the ocean. The river does not ask you what you want. The river moves, it flows, it changes. It brings stones, curves, storms, calm waters, fast currents, slow currents. Your job is not to control the river. Your job is to learn how to swim. And swimming is awareness. Swimming is acceptance. Swimming is letting go of panic. Swimming is trusting your ability to float through life. So ask yourself honestly, where are you fighting reality? Are you fighting a breakup that already happened? Are you fighting a loss that already occurred? Are you fighting a delay that you cannot change? Are you fighting a version of yourself that you used to be? Are you fighting the truth that someone doesn't value you? Are you fighting the fact that healing takes time? Are you fighting the truth that life cannot be controlled? If you can see where you are fighting, you can begin to stop. And when you stop, peace begins. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the absence of resistance. Peace is when you say, life is happening, and I will be okay. Peace is when you stop needing everything to go your way. Peace is when you stop measuring your worth by people's opinions. Peace is when you stop chasing validation. Peace is when you stop forcing outcomes. Peace is when you stop trying to be perfect. Peace is when you accept yourself as a work in progress. Peace is when you stop fighting the moment. And the moment you stop fighting reality, you will feel something you forgot existed. Lightness. Your chest becomes lighter. Your mind becomes quieter. Your breath becomes deeper. Your heart becomes softer. You still have responsibilities, but you don't feel crushed by them. You still have goals, but you don't feel desperate. You still have challenges, but you don't feel helpless. You still feel emotions, but you don't feel trapped. That is freedom. That is peace. So, this is the final lesson. Stop fighting reality. Stop resisting what is. Stop arguing with life. Stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. Accept what you cannot change and change what you can. Do your part, then let go. Love deeply, but don't cling. Work hard, but don't obsess. Care, but don't depend. And remember this truth. Life is not asking you to be perfect. Life is asking you to be present. Because when you are present, you are peaceful. When you are peaceful, you are powerful. And when you are powerful inside, nothing outside can destroy you the same way again. Now 8. Write more long write on 10000. Crack the Ishar. Brutally honest. Your script only has 7 lessons. There is no lesson 8 inches this topic unless you want to add a new lesson, which is totally fine. So I'll do it the smart way. I'll add a new powerful lesson 8 that fits the title perfectly and keeps the same deep Buddhist vibe. 8. Stop chasing peace. Become the peace. Most people don't realize this, but the reason they never feel peaceful is because they treat peace like a destination. They treat peace like something far away that they must reach after everything is fixed, after everything becomes stable, after everyone behaves the way they want, after they finally figure life out. They keep telling themselves, once I have money, then I will relax. Once I get the right relationship, then I will feel safe. Once my life becomes perfect, then I will be calm. Once my problems disappear, then I will finally breathe. But Buddhism teaches something completely different, and this truth is so deep that it can change your entire life. Buddhism teaches that peace is not something you find in the future. Peace is something you practice in the present. Peace is not something life gives you. Peace is something you become. This is why so many people suffer even when their life looks fine, because their mind is always in chase mode, always searching, always wanting more, always needing something else, always believing that something outside of them is missing. They wake up and their mind is already hunting. It hunts for validation, it hunts for results, it hunts for attention, it hunts for attention, it hunts for approval, it hunts for comfort. And because it is always hunting, it can never sit down and rest. It can never feel content. It can never feel complete. Even on good days, the mind finds something to worry about. Even when life gives you beauty, the mind asks, how long will this last? Even when you achieve something, the mind says, what if I lose it? Even when you get loved, the mind says, what if they leave? That is why chasing peace is impossible, because the mind that chases peace is the same mind that destroys peace. Buddhism teaches that peace does not come from controlling life. It comes from understanding life. It comes from seeing clearly. And the first thing you must see clearly is that your mind has been trained to chase. It has been trained to run. It has been trained to believe that stillness is dangerous. It has been trained to believe that if you are not busy, you are falling behind. If you are not improving, you are failing. If you are not achieving, you are worthless. So even when you try to rest, guilt follows you. Even when you try to enjoy a moment, your mind interrupts it with fear. Even when you sit quietly, your thoughts attack you. But Buddhism teaches that this chase is the root of your suffering. Not your problems, not your life, not people, the chase. Because chasing peace means you are at war with the present moment. You are basically saying, this moment is not good enough. I need another moment. And the moment you reject this moment, you lose peace. You may not realize it, but you are training your mind to always reject reality. And a mind that rejects reality will always suffer, because reality will never stop happening. The present moment will always be here. So every time you reject it, you create inner resistance, and that resistance becomes your anxiety, your stress, your frustration, your emptiness, your constant pressure. This is why Buddhism emphasizes mindfulness and awareness. Mindfulness is not just sitting quietly. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully here without trying to escape. It is the ability to be present without needing the moment to be different. It is the ability to breathe without demanding life to give you guarantees. It is the ability to live without constantly needing to control what will happen next. And when you develop mindfulness, peace starts to appear naturally, not as an emotion, but as a foundation, like a calm ocean under the waves. Let's make this clear. Peace is not the absence of noise in life. Peace is the absence of noise inside you. Life can be loud, people can be chaotic, situations can be unpredictable. But when your mind becomes peaceful, life no longer controls your inner world. You stop being shaken by every small thing. You stop being emotionally controlled by every message, every delay, every rejection, every opinion. You stop being the kind of person whose mood depends on the outside world, and that is real power. That is the freedom Buddhism talks about, not freedom from life, but freedom within life. Most people don't know how to become peace because they have never trained their minds. They wait for peace like it will magically come after success. But peace is a skill, calmness is a skill. Letting go is a skill, detachment is a skill, and like every skill, it takes practice, it takes repetition, it takes discipline, it takes awareness. And this is why many people feel stuck. They want peace, but they don't want to practice presence. They want calmness, but they don't want to stop reacting. They want healing, but they don't want to stop clinging. They want freedom, but they don't want to release control. Buddhism teaches that the biggest enemy of peace is desire. Not desire for growth, but desire for control. Desire that says, I need this to happen, or I will not be okay. Desire that says, I need people to treat me a certain way. Desire that says, I need to be ahead. Desire that says, I need certainty. Desire that says, I need my life to make sense. And when you are living with this type of desire, you will always be restless. You will always feel like something is missing. You will always feel like you are chasing a shadow, because the moment you get what you desire, the mind creates another desire. It never ends. This is why Buddhism says attachment is the root of suffering, because attachment is endless wanting, endless needing, endless hunger. To become peace, you must learn contentment. Contentment is one of the most underrated spiritual powers. Contentment does not mean you stop improving. Contentment means you stop emotionally starving. It means you stop treating every moment like a problem. It means you stop feeling empty even when you have enough. It means you stop thinking happiness is always somewhere else. Contentment is being able to sit with what you have right now and say, this is enough for today. Not because your life is perfect, but because your mind is no longer desperate. And you know what happens when you become content? You become unbreakable, because now people cannot control you easily. Rejection doesn't destroy you, because you don't need validation to feel whole. Delay doesn't break you, because you trust timing. Criticism doesn't shake you, because your worth doesn't depend on approval. Uncertainty doesn't scare you, because you are comfortable in the unknown. That is a peaceful mind, a mind that is complete within itself, a mind that does not beg life to be different. The truth is, many people chase peace in the wrong way. They think peace comes from fixing everything outside, fixing relationships, fixing money, fixing status, fixing appearance, fixing achievements, fixing problems. But even if you fix everything outside, your mind will still create suffering if it is not trained. Because an untrained mind does not know how to rest. It will always search for danger. It will always search for lack. It will always find something wrong. You can put someone in a paradise, but if their mind is full of fear and attachment, they will suffer there too. And you can put someone in a difficult life, but if their mind is calm and aware, they will still find peace inside it. This is why Buddhism focuses on the mind, because the mind is the real home you live in. You don't live in your house, you live in your head. And if your head is hell, no place will feel safe. So how do you become peace? You start by stopping your unnecessary inner wars. You stop fighting people's opinions. You stop fighting the past. You stop fighting what you cannot change. You stop fighting uncertainty. You stop fighting your own emotions. You stop fighting the moment. Because most of your exhaustion comes from these invisible wars. You are fighting conversations that already happened. You are fighting things you cannot control. You are fighting what someone did. You are fighting what you should have done. You are fighting what might happen. You are fighting life in your mind 24/7. And because you are fighting, you cannot rest. Becoming peace means you learn to sit with discomfort without panic. You learn to sit with silence without escaping. You learn to sit with loneliness without desperation. You learn to sit with uncertainty without creating disaster stories. You learn to feel sadness without making it your identity. You learn to feel fear without letting it control your decisions. You learn to feel anger without exploding. You learn to experience emotions as weather, not as permanent truth. Because emotions are like clouds. They come and go. But if you chase them, if you fight them, if you cling to them, they stay longer. When you simply observe them, they pass. Buddhism teaches this awareness clearly. The mind is like a lake. If the lake is constantly disturbed, you cannot see your reflection. It becomes cloudy. It becomes chaotic. But if you let the lake settle, the water becomes clear. You can see everything. This is the same with your mind. When your mind is always disturbed by chasing and forcing and controlling, you cannot see clearly. You cannot make wise decisions. You cannot feel calm. But when you stop chasing and start observing, your mind settles. Clarity comes. Peace comes. Not because your life changed, but because your relationship with life changed. Another powerful truth is this: the more you chase peace, the more you confirm to your brain that you don't have peace. It is like chasing sleep. Have you ever tried to force yourself to sleep? The more you force it, the more awake you become. The mind becomes tense. It becomes frustrated. It becomes restless. Because sleep comes only when you relax. Peace works the same way. It comes when you stop forcing it. It comes when you stop trying to control the moment. It comes when you stop chasing a perfect life. Peace comes when you accept this life, this breath, this moment as it is. And yes, you still work, you still grow, you still improve. But you do it from calmness, not desperation. You do it from clarity, not fear. You do it because you love growth, not because you hate yourself. You do it because it is meaningful, not because you need to prove your worth. That is the difference between a peaceful person and a restless person. The restless person does everything to escape their inner emptiness. The peaceful person does everything from inner fullness. So the final message of this lesson is simple but heavy. Stop chasing peace. Stop hunting for it like it is hiding in someone else's approval or in some future achievement. Peace is not outside you. Peace is inside you, waiting for you to stop disturbing it. It is the quiet part of you that has always been there, underneath the noise. And the moment you slow down, the moment you stop forcing, the moment you stop fighting reality, you will feel it. You will feel that calmness, that softness, that deep breath that finally reaches your soul, and you will realize, you see, peace was never something you needed to find. Peace was something you needed to uncover. Because peace is your natural state. Your mind was just too loud to hear it. 9. Your life begins when you stop needing it to be perfect. Most people don't realize this, but the reason they feel stuck, tired, and mentally suffocated is not because their life is truly impossible. It is because they are secretly waiting for a perfect version of life that will never arrive. They are waiting for a day where everything makes sense, everyone behaves correctly, their emotions stay stable, their plans work perfectly, and nothing goes wrong. They keep telling themselves, once I fix everything, then I'll be okay. Once my life becomes perfect, then I'll relax. Once I have control over every detail, Then I'll feel safe. But Buddhism teaches a truth that is simple, brutal, and freeing at the same time. Life was never meant to be perfect. Life was meant to be lived. And the moment you stop needing perfection, you finally start living for real. Perfection is one of the most dangerous addictions of the mind. Because perfection is not a goal, it is a prison. It is the mind's way of delaying happiness. It is the mind's way of delaying peace. It is the mind's way of delaying gratitude. It is the mind's way of saying, "This moment is not enough. I need a better moment." And as long as your mind keeps rejecting the present moment, you will never feel content. Even if your life improves, your mind will still demand more. Because perfection does not end. It has no finish line. The mind will always find something wrong. If your job becomes better, the mind will worry about your future. If your relationship becomes stable, the mind will fear losing it. If you become successful, the mind will fear failure. If you become respected, the mind will fear criticism. There is no situation where the mind fully relaxes when it is addicted to perfection, and that is why perfection creates suffering. Not because progress is bad, but because the need for perfection creates constant pressure and constant dissatisfaction. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment, and one of the strongest attachments in modern life is attachment to an ideal image, an ideal life, an ideal body, an ideal relationship, an ideal personality, an ideal journey. People don't just want happiness, they want happiness without pain. They don't just want love, they want love without uncertainty. They don't just want success, they want success without struggle. They don't just want peace, they want peace without facing their own mind. But that is not life. That is fantasy. And when you compare life to fantasy, you will always feel disappointed because reality is not here to match your imagination. Reality is here to teach you, to grow you, to shape you, and to awaken you. Let's be honest. A perfect life would not even make you wise. It would make you weak. A life with no problems would not build your character. It would make you fragile. A life with no pain would not make you enlightened. It would make you careless, because wisdom is born through experience. Patience is born through delays. Strength is born through struggle. Detachment is born through loss. Compassion is born through suffering. And a person who never goes through anything hard becomes soft inside, and then when life finally hits them, they collapse completely. So Buddhism teaches you to stop wishing for a perfect life and start building a stable mind. Because the real goal is not perfection, the real goal is inner freedom. The need for perfection also keeps you trapped in procrastination. Many people don't start their journey because they say, "I'm not ready." They don't take action because they say, "It's not the right time." They don't post content because they say, "It's not perfect." They don't improve themselves because they say, "I need to know everything first." They don't heal because they say, "I need closure first." They don't change their life because they say, "I need motivation first." But the truth is, perfection is often just fear in disguise, fear of failing, fear of criticism, fear of not being good enough, fear of being seen trying, fear of starting and not achieving greatness instantly. So the mind chooses the comfort of delay. It chooses the comfort of waiting. It chooses the comfort of dreaming instead of doing. That is why perfection is so toxic. It does not make you better. It keeps you stuck. Buddhism teaches that the path is walked step by step, not perfectly, not quickly, not smoothly, but honestly, with awareness, with patience, with sincerity. You grow through mess. You learn through mistakes. You evolve through imperfect progress. So the idea that you must be perfect to begin is a lie. The truth is, you begin to become better only after you start. You begin to become wise only after you fail and learn. You begin to build confidence only after you face discomfort. Your life begins not when everything is perfect. Your life begins when you stop delaying your happiness until perfection arrives. Most people don't see how much perfection steals their peace. Perfection makes you harsh with yourself. You judge yourself constantly. You criticize yourself constantly. You feel like you are never enough. You feel behind. You feel like everyone else is doing better. And even when you achieve something, you don't enjoy it because you immediately focus on what's missing. You don't celebrate progress because you only see flaws. You don't appreciate growth because you are obsessed with the next level. This is why perfection can make you depressed, because it trains your brain to only see failure, even in success. It trains your heart to feel inadequate, even when you are improving, and slowly, you become your own enemy. You become the person who never lets yourself breathe. Buddhism teaches compassion, and this includes compassion toward yourself. The Buddha never taught self-hatred. The Buddha never taught you to destroy yourself mentally. The Buddha taught awareness and kindness. He taught that you can see your flaws without hating yourself. You can improve without insulting yourself. You can grow without becoming cruel to your own heart. Because you are human, you are learning, you are evolving, and the mind that keeps screaming, not good enough, is not wisdom. That is ego. That is fear. That is attachment to an ideal self-image. A peaceful mind is not a perfect mind. A peaceful mind is a flexible mind. A peaceful mind is a mind that can adapt, a mind that can accept change, a mind that can accept mistakes, a mind that can accept setbacks without collapsing. That is real strength. Because life will never give you a straight road. Life will always have unexpected turns. And when you are obsessed with perfection, every turn feels like a disaster. But when you are focused on awareness, every turn becomes part of your journey. This is why Buddhism teaches you to stop clinging to control. Perfection and control are connected. Because perfection is a form of control. Perfection says, everything must happen my way. Perfection says, nothing must go wrong. Perfection says, I must always look strong. Perfection says, people must always respect me. Perfection says, my life must always move forward. But life does not obey these rules. Life breaks these rules every day. And when life breaks them, a perfectionist suffers deeply because they feel like their world is collapsing. But in reality, life is just being life, imperfect, unpredictable, alive. Here is a powerful Buddhist truth. The moment you accept that life will always have imperfection, you stop being shocked by it. You stop being emotionally defeated by normal struggles. You stop acting like problems are proof that you are failing, because problems are not proof of failure. Problems are proof that you are alive. Even the Buddha faced suffering. Even enlightened people face loss. Even wise people face hardship. But the difference is, wise people don't turn hardship into misery. They don't add unnecessary suffering by resisting the hardship. They accept it, learn from it, and move forward with calmness. And this is exactly how your life changes when you stop needing perfection. You become lighter. You become simpler. You stop overcomplicating everything. You stop needing the perfect words to speak. You stop needing the perfect moment to start. You stop needing perfect timing. You stop needing perfect people. You stop needing perfect conditions. You start living in reality. You start living in now. You start living in action, and that is where peace is born. You also start appreciating your life more, because perfection makes you blind. It makes you blind to blessings. It makes you blind to progress. It makes you blind to peace that already exists. Many people have a roof over their head, food, health, opportunities, potential, and still they suffer mentally because their mind refuses to be satisfied. It refuses to appreciate. It refuses to see the good. It keeps focusing on what's missing. Buddhism teaches gratitude not as motivation, but as wisdom, because gratitude is not pretending life is perfect. Gratitude is seeing life clearly and still choosing to appreciate what is here. Gratitude is saying, even though life is not perfect, it is still precious. That is enlightenment. That is maturity. And when you stop needing perfection, you become more present. You stop rushing life. You stop living in the future. You stop being addicted to next goal, next achievement, next relationship, next upgrade, next validation. Because that chase makes you miss everything. You may reach the top of your goals and still feel empty because you never learned how to enjoy the climb. But when you stop needing perfection, you enjoy the process. You enjoy improvement. You enjoy your own growth. You start feeling peace in the middle of progress. This lesson is also important in relationships. Many people destroy relationships because they expect perfection from people. They want people to never make mistakes. They want people to always understand them. They want people to always behave correctly. They want love without conflict. But humans are not perfect. People make mistakes. People get confused. People grow slowly. People sometimes disappoint. So Buddhism teaches compassion and acceptance. Not toxic acceptance, not staying with abuse, but acceptance of human imperfection. When you stop expecting perfection from people, you stop suffering so much. You stop taking everything personally. You stop creating dramas in your mind. You stop turning small flaws into reasons to hate. You become calmer. You become mature. And you start building deeper connections. Your life begins when you stop needing it to be perfect, because now you stop postponing your happiness. You stop saying, I will be peaceful later. You stop saying, I will love myself later. You stop saying, I will start later. You stop saying, I will be confident when everything is fixed. You start now. You breathe now. You live now. You become grateful now. You become consistent now. You become calm now. And you stop giving the power of your peace to an imaginary future. So the message of this lesson is simple, but it is life-changing. Stop waiting for perfection. Stop demanding that your life must be flawless for you to feel peace. Stop being your own enemy. Life was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to teach you. It was meant to shape you. It was meant to awaken you. And when you finally accept that, you stop fighting reality. You stop chasing an ideal life, and you start living your real life with real peace. Because the truth is, your life is happening right now, not after you fix everything, not after you become perfect, right now. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you become free. So now you understand the truth, and this truth can change your life if you actually live it, not just hear it. The reason you've been exhausted is not because you are weak. It's because you've been carrying life in the hardest way possible. You've been forcing what is not meant to be forced. You've been gripping what is meant to flow. You've been chasing what is meant to arrive naturally. You've been fighting reality, and reality will always be stronger than your mind. That's why you feel tired. That's why you feel restless. That's why even when things are fine, you still don't feel peaceful. But today, you learned something different. You learned that control is often fear wearing a mask. You learned that anxiety grows when you try to control outcomes that were never yours. You learned that letting go is not giving up. It is trusting life enough to stop destroying your own peace. You learned that when you stop forcing, you finally start living. You learned that life is not against you, it is training you. You learned that peace begins the moment you stop fighting what is already happening. And most importantly, You learn that your life truly begins when you stop needing it to be perfect. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything, something inside you relaxes, your chest becomes lighter, your mind becomes quieter, your heart becomes stronger. You stop begging life to be different, and you start becoming strong enough to handle life as it is. You stop chasing peace, and you start becoming peace. You stop running from discomfort, and you start realizing that discomfort was never here to destroy you. It was here to wake you up. You stop trying to hold the whole world in your hands, and you finally breathe again. So if you're watching this right now and you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you've been trying too hard, if you feel like your mind never rests, then this is your reminder. You don't have to control life to be okay. You don't have to control everyone to feel safe. You don't have to control the future to feel peaceful. All you need to do is your part with sincerity, and then release the rest. Let life unfold. Let timing work. Let people reveal themselves. Let the journey shape you. And trust that even when you don't have all the answers, you are still moving forward. And if this video spoke to your heart, comment below, "I let go." Because letting go is not the end. Letting go is the beginning of your freedom. And remember, the more you relax into life, the more life starts opening for you. May you be calm, may you be free, and may you finally stop trying so hard and start living naturally.